ready? You ready? Okay. Well, good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship on the Emerald Coast. I'm Arnold Farley. I'm a member of this congregation, and I'm your service leader this morning. We gather on the unceded lands of the Muskogee Nation of Florida. We are grateful for this land. Unitarians come from a liberal theological background, stressing not creed, but religious integrity, freedom to be true for our own search for meaning. Universalists stress expansive love that excludes no one. Together, we find value in most sacred texts and are all of humankind's life-affirming religious aspirations. If you're visiting us this morning, please take a visitor card. They're on the table where you came in this morning. Fill it out. You can turn it in to the plate donations this morning, and we can put you on our e-news. It's a weekly newsletter, and you can make sure that you know what's going on here and our upcoming activities and our services. This morning, we hope that everyone will stay and join us for our second Sunday potluck lunch, and visitors are welcome, and just your presence here is great for us. So don't worry if you didn't bring food or something. I'm sure we'll have plenty of it. And that's going to be in place of our regular second hour groups. And now we've got some folks that have some important announcements to make. Melissa, would you come forth, please, and tell us what you have to say?
All right, I have three things. First, Project Mailstorm met here last night, and we did about 250 cards. Heather Bird, who was kind of the one organizing it, she took most of them, but there are some bigger ones on the back table, like under the Religious Exploration Board. If you want to just take, they're already labeled, stamped, they just need to be put in mailboxes. So if anyone wants to take a handful and just toss them in, put them in different places so that they're kind of coming in at different times and it's a steady stream and really annoying, okay? And the other two things are kind of cups and pagan related. So if we just need one more cups member. So if you're a member of the UUFEC and you're interested in cups and want to be a founding member, you can go on to cups.org and sign up with them. It is $25 for like a year membership, but it will allow us to have 5 founding members, and that's really helpful.
And that's a pagan group,
Cups
right?
is Covenant of Unitarian Universalist Pagans, and we are forming a chapter, which is very exciting because I think our area needs it. And the last thing is on Saturday, we are going to be having our spring equinox ritual celebration here. So if anyone is interested in that, it's open to everyone. It'll be at 6 p.m. and we'll meet here. That's it.
Good. And Denny has an announcement.
I'm Denny. I am not Karen. She's not here today. She had a bit of a fever last night. She's doing okay this morning, but she thought it was best not to spread whatever it was. So we had a membership meeting set for today, UU membership committee. She will hold off on that and we'll announce when that be reset. And for those who would like to, membership is going to be beyond going out on the street and yelling at people to bring them in. Oh, we don't do that. It's also going to be fun, food, and fellowship, of setting up socials, all kinds of things. So think about if you'd like to join. Let me or Karen know.
Excuse me. You have another announcement.
we have our collection back there in support of cats and dogs. Well, support of cats and dogs. And dogs. So we're collecting. You have a pot for cats and a pot for some other animal. So go ahead and take care of those, okay? And then we're going to have a winner, and it all goes to... Aren't you glad I made the announcement? I don't mind embarrassing myself.
Well, Judy Byrne Riley also has the announcement.
One more. I'm Judy Byrne Riley, and this Saturday, before you go to the 6 o'clock event that Melissa was talking about, between 9 and 1 at the landing in Fort Walton is One Nation Indivisible. It's the combination of the League of Women Voters and the Indivisible chapter group of people here in a nonpartisan voter education event with lead sponsors of the League and Indivisible. We're asking you to come and learn about changes, and there are changes because you know that legislature over there in Tallahassee likes to fiddle around with the rules to make it as difficult as possible, and how to verify your voting status, how to verify your vote by mail status, and all of that information. It's really important that we support this, and it's 9 to 1, and there is, so that you don't have any reason to not remember, there are QR code pages on some of the tables, and there's also one in the community events bulletin board in the back. So just do your QR code, and we'll see you Saturday. And lo and behold, thank you, Adam. Mr. Adam, thank you very much. Did I include everything, Stacy? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And many of these announcements are also in your order of service today. So when you have a moment, take a look. And now the prelude prepares us for our service. Alex, will you come forth and light our chalice, please? Thank you. We light this chalice And this candle, a symbol of our faith, a beacon of hope, and a reminder of the mystery that surrounds us. In the vastness of the universe and the depths of our own hearts, there is a mystery that we can never fully grasp. Yet it is in this mystery that we find meaning, purpose, and connection. And now will you please stand as you're able for singing our first hymn this morning, Morning Has Broken. It's number 38 in your gray hymnal, and you'll also see the lyrics on the screen. In his writing, From a Prophet's Prophet, My Jewish Learning, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel writes, "How can modern man regain a personal awareness of God? A universally accessible feeling is the experience of the sublime. For example, in the presence of the grandeur of nature. A sense of the sublime entails wonder and radical astonishment. Astonishment is radical because it embraces not only what one sees, but the very act of seeing and the very self that is astonished in his ability to see. The individual confronts the ineffable, that which cannot ever be expressed in words. Heschel insists that the ineffable is not a psychological state, but an encounter with a mystery, within and beyond things and ideas. The divine is within, because the self is something transcendent in disguise. The divine is beyond, because it also is a message that discloses unity where we see diversity, that discloses peace where we are involved in discord. God means no one is ever alone. As you use, we often embrace diverse perspectives of God and prefer using other terms such as love, mystery, or spirit of life. Later this morning, our guest speaker, Dr. Arnold Farley, will guide us in examining different perspectives of God in his message, Who or What is God? But now, it's time for all ages. And we invite the children, if they'd like to come up and get a front row seat. I see some little packages on there. I wonder what that's all about. Miss Lisa has a story for us that I think all of us will enjoy, all ages. So come for it. Go.
I know, right?
Don't rush. Don't rush. Take your time. But come.
All right, if you guys don't come here, then I'm going to bring you the packages. So Thank you. All right. So we are going to be reading today, or hearing, the story, The Blind Men and the Elephant. And this is an ancient story. Thank you. This is an ancient story. It originated in India. But before we start, I'm going to give bags to the people up front and some others too. Don't look inside yet. Anyone else want a bag? Take a bag. Oh, okay. So I'll save them for them. Yeah? Okay. Here we go. And there's more if anyone else wants one. Just let me know. Oh, we have more people. See, that's all it took was bags. Okay, I think we're set. I think everybody has one. Okay, so now that you have your bag, you can put your hand inside, but don't look. Don't look. Just feel what's in there. It doesn't bite. And try to figure out what it is. Okay? Everybody has something different, so you can just kind of think about it. All right? And later, you can switch bags and see if someone else thought the same thing as you. Okay? Because we don't know what exactly it is till later. You can find out later. So, just like you were touching that and trying to figure out what it was, imagine that you were touching a part of an elephant. Okay? And only one part. So, if you were touching the trunk, what would it feel like? Or the ear? Or that big leg? Or one of these other pieces? So, think about that. And that's basically what this story was about, because there was a faraway village, and there were 6 men that lived there. And one day an elephant arrived in town, and everyone was excited. And like everyone else, the blind men wanted to join in on the excitement. So the first man's like, I'm going to find out what that elephant is. Sorry. And so he grabbed the side of the elephant, and he felt like, what would you think it would feel like if you touched the side? A wall. It felt like a wall, right? So he said a wall. And now they understood what an elephant was. Totally got it. So the second man said, well, that can't be true. Why would a wall come to town? So he said, let me try. So he grabbed the tusk, and it felt like a stick. So he had to disagree. It was clear it wasn't a wall. It was a stick. So they started to argue, and he said, one said it was a wall, and the other a stick. So the third man stepped up, and he said, how can an elephant be a wall and a stick? So he approached the elephant and its trunk, and it squirmed and it twisted like a snake. And so he said, are you ready to hear what an elephant really is? It's a snake. So now we have one man saying it's a wall, one man saying it's a stick, and one man saying it's a snake. So the fourth man, well, he didn't really mean to upset anyone, but he figured out that an elephant had to be more important than any of those things. So he approached the elephant, he grabbed its leg. It was rough and it was wrinkly, just like a tree trunk. So, aha, he announced. It's obvious that this elephant is actually a tree. So now, we don't know. Is it a wall? Is it a stick? Is it a snake? Is it a tree? And this is where my printer died. But we still have the story. So, the fifth man went and he touched the ear. And he felt it, and it was flapping in the wind. And it was folding, and it was just like a fan. So he said, mystery solved. It's a fan. So now we have a wall, a stick, a snake, a tree, or maybe a fan. And they're all arguing about this. So the sixth man says, stop. Let me end this confusion for now and always. And he approached it, and he felt the tail. And it swayed back and forth, just like a rope. So he said, we have our answer. An elephant is, without a doubt, a rope. So there's no one left to agree. So the first guy's like, I believe it's a wall. Second guy is like, I know it's a stick. The third is certain it's a snake. Then we have someone convinced it's a tree, and without a question, a fan. But the last guy is sure it's a rope. So the first blind man said, friends, how can one thing seem so different? If you want to truly know something, you must try to understand all of its parts. And on that, they could all agree. So the men investigated the whole animal, and when they investigated together, they finally gained a true understanding of what an elephant is. So that is our story. Thanks for your patience with my book and things. And the fun of this activity is, like, yeah, it was nice for you to look at it, to see, but now see if the next person you are with later agrees with you. And you can see if you guys feel the same thing and think the same thing. Thank you, guys.
I think there's some moral in that someplace. Our lives are filled with joys, concerns, and special milestones. You're invited now to briefly come up, share one of these important events in your life so that we may support and celebrate together. Please say your name, take a pebble, put it in the water, and briefly share what you have to tell us in a few words. Please do not share others' personal information unless you have their permission to do so.
I'm here to share with you two people. There are various philosophers and writers who have shared their concepts of who or what God is. The first one is Frederick Lenz, known as the founder of the American Buddhism. He describes God as looking through a kaleidoscope, you know? And he's seeing God's face in so many ways, as friends, as strangers, as people passing by. In county roads, in jammed freeways. He sees him in the cancer ward. He sees him in the maternity wards. All the faces of God surround you always. Another gentleman named Anthony de Milos, his ideas of God, he quoted this saying, "Scriptures doesn't show a picture of God. Scripture doesn't even describe God." That is what Scripture is. It's a pointer. In the East, he said, they have a saying, when the wise man
Thich Nhat Hanh was a Vietnamese monk who brought to the Western world a concept of Buddhism. And after we pause for a quiet moment of meditation or prayer, I'll close this section with a few words that he wrote about prayer and what it meant to him. While you pray, you are deeply aware of what you really need and what is just the object of your desire. This kind of prayer is the light of God that shines upon you, telling you which way to go in order to obtain peace, solidity, and freedom. In a real prayer, you also touch the love, understanding, forgiveness, and joy. Our fellowship is supported solely by our members and friends of the fellowship with their pledges and donations. If you're paying your pledge today with a check, please write pledge on the memo line. And if you're paying with cash for your pledge, put it in an envelope with your name on it, please. All undesignated checks and cash will be equally divided between the fellowship and our designated Share the Plate recipient for this month. September's charitable organization is Shelter House. It supports victims of domestic violence through providing shelter, intervention, and primary preventive programs for the community through awareness and advocating for social change. Please be as generous as you are able. And now will the greeters please collect the donations. It's my pleasure today to introduce to you our speaker, Dr. Arnold Farley, to the pulpit here at UUFEC. Many of you will recall him as the speaker several years ago who brought red noses for everybody to put on, and his perspective on humor is no laughing matter. Or is it? And it was no coincidence that his last name, Farley, is also a familiar one to our congregation. Arnold is my brother-in-law, my husband's brother, and uncle to Blake Farley. You and his sister, Lucille, that you just heard reading, she came all the way from New Jersey this morning to administration degree from Temple University. As a retired United States Public Health Service captain and organization development consultant, he maintains his psychological and massage therapy licenses. Dr. Farley currently teaches leadership development and other courses in wellness and energetic healing through Touch at the University of New Mexico's continuing education program. A Unitarian Universalist, he enjoys travel and many other activities such as hiking, kayaking, tennis, pickleball, and helping his wife Sandy with gardening at their home in Corrales, New Mexico. Today, Dr. Farley invites us to delve into the question of who or what is God? Arnold?
So who is this guy? Good morning. How's it going? All right? Okay, so? Okay, I just want to tell you up front, I know what time it is, and this is going to run over. But you're going to have food. Okay? Thank you for welcoming me back. It's a pleasure to be here, especially to see my family and a sibling gathering. So I talked to Shar, and I said, so, since I'm going to be here, do you want me to do another service? She said, sure. And liking challenges, which my wife would say I shouldn't as much, I decided to tackle this topic, and so bear with me because it's going to be an interesting ride. May we all embrace the spirit of today's sharing, whether it be emotional, mental, metaphysical, or any way you'd like. Belief in an all-powerful entity or host of godlike beings may have had its beginning tens of thousands of years ago, according to Agustin Fuentes, who's a professor of anthropology in Princeton University. Evidence for such are found in rituals, ceremonies, and rites found all over the globe, burial sites, stone circles, ancient carvings. Organized religion, as we know it today, seemed to develop during the agricultural and village period where people stayed in place about 8,000 to 10,000 years ago. Ludwig Feuerbach, a German anthropologist and philosopher of the 1800s, saw God as a human projection of the essential attributes of humanity, not unlike how we project constellations on the sky's stars at night. Joseph Campbell, who was a professor of literature and an ardent researcher of comparative mythology and religions, believed that religion was an imaginative construct of myth to explain the mysteries of our lives. Karl Marx, who was a child of many rabbi ancestors and also having a doctorate in philosophy, famously quoted that religion was the opium of the people, end quote, that it was used by the state and industry to control and manipulate the masses. Interestingly, the triad appears predominantly in the Heritage Foundation's Project 2025. Sigmund Freud, the famous psychoanalyst, labeled religion as a, quote, infantile obsessive neurosis, end quote. He had his problems. These many views are in direct opposition, however, to the belief that God's revelation itself as being the origin of religion on the planet. God's existence may be posited through a philosophical ontological premise based upon aseity, which means self-derived, independent, and self-existent. Additionally, God may exist via necessary existence where, quote, if you can think it, it can exist. These positions are akin to Descartes' I think, therefore I am, and also in many scriptures and sacred writings, I am who am. Some recent scientific research actually speculates that there is actually a God or spirit gene named VMAT2 that predisposes individuals to be more open to spiritual experiences. Dean Hammer, geneticist and the chief of the Gene Structure and Regulation section of the National Institutes for Health, believes this to be the case. He shares, quote, spirituality gives people a sense of optimism and a sense of life is worth living. Time does not permit me going through the many cosmological, teleological, ontological, divine hiddenness and incoherence positions or Occam's razor or Nietzsche's death of God positions on the existence or lack thereof of God or gods. But I will do my best to give you a substantive food source for further thought and exploration as well as reflection on the ever-present and most perplexing topic of who or what is God. Due to the diverse nature of religions across the globe, there's no single answer to how many gods are represented, but it's important to note that many religions believe in one God, which is monotheistic, while others recognize multiple deities, which would be polytheistic. Some estimates suggest thousands of gods across the world's religions. The word God itself, etymologically, comes from Old English, probably from Proto-Germanic word gudan, which means invoked or worshipped being. Those identifying as Christian make up the largest group of religions on the religious people on the planet, about 30-31% of the world's population. Second largest group would be 25% as Muslim or the Islamic faith. Hinduism is the third largest with about 15%, followed by Buddhism about 6%. Another 6% practice various folk or traditional religions, including African traditional, Chinese folk, Native American, and Australian Aboriginal religions. Slightly less than 1% of the global population belong to other religions or faiths, including Baha'i, Jainism, Sikhism, Shintoism, Taoism, Tenrikyo, Wicca, and Zoroastrianism, to mention a few. The Jewish faith comprises approximately 0.2%, which is Judaism. A recent study by the Pew Forum from Pennsylvania also finds that roughly 1 in 6 people around the globe, about 16%, have no declared religious affiliation at all. This would make the unaffiliated group the third largest religious group worldwide. Multiple surveys do indicate that this group, the unaffiliated group, holds some religious or spiritual beliefs such as a belief in a god or gods, life force, or a universal spirit, even though they don't identify with any particular faith. A recent study in 2023 by the Pew Foundation found that 22% of Americans identify themselves as spiritual but not religious. Why would Jesus make a good lifeguard? He can walk on water. Let's take it's okay. Let's take a closer look at what folks around the planet believe about God or gods. Christians believe in one God who exists in 3 co-equal persons or entities, Father, Son, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit. This is known as the Trinity in that faith. Each is fully God, yet they are distinct from each other. God, according to Christianity, created the universe and everything within it. This God is transcendent and immanent, meaning he, yes, this God is referred to in the masculine, is both separate from and involved with the world. He is not limited by the physical world, but also interacts with it. This God exists without a beginning and end. He's all-powerful and all-knowing, present everywhere and all-loving and just. Protestants also believe much of the above with some variations, but also hold specifically that each may have their own personal relationship with God and direct access without the need for priests or intercessors, such as a pope. Islamic religion followers are Muslims. Muslims believe in one God, who is known as Allah in Arabic. The central tenets of Islam is called Tawhid, meaning the absolute oneness of God. Key beliefs about their God, the God of Islam, include that Allah is one and unique, without any partners or equals. He, also referred to in the masculine, has no offspring, no race, no gender, and is unaffected by human life characteristics. Where would Muslims go to pray on Mars? Elon's mosque. It's a good one. Okay. Only Allah is deserving of worship, and the purpose of all creation is to submit to Allah. Allah is described in the Quran and the Hadith, which is the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, by 99 names, which reflect his attributes. Some of those attributes are Allah's mercy extends to all creation, but depending on the interpretation of the Quran and Hadith, Hinduism, which is the third largest religious group on the planet, the concept of God is referred to as Brahman. Multifaceted, can be understood in both monistic and polytheistic terms. While Hindus generally believe in one supreme, all-encompassing God or Brahman, they also recognize various deities, gods and goddesses, as different manifestations or expressions of the ultimate reality or Brahman. These deities, like Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahma, the well-known trinity of deities called the Trimurti, are not seen as separate entities, but rather as different aspects or forms of the one divine being. I asked the Hindu girl if she wanted to go home with me. She smiled and said, "Namaste." Hindus have the freedom to choose which deity or form of God they connect with and worship, based on their personal preferences and spiritual inclinations. Essentially, the focus of Buddhism is to achieve enlightenment or nirvana through one's own efforts, which is a state of liberation from the suffering and the cycle of rebirth. While some Buddhists may venerate deities, they're not seen as the origin of the universe or a source of salvation. What did the Buddha say when he did not know the answer to a question? Buddhists typically do not subscribe to a concept of a creator God. Ultimately, Buddhist teachings emphasize personal responsibility and the development of wisdom and compassion through practice, rather than reliance on any higher power for salvation, be it Brahman or some deity. I also want to include a few observations from Judaism due to its esoteric, metaphysical, and existential beliefs about God from the Kabbalah. The name of God in Hebrew could be translated as YHVH or Yahweh. It means being or existence. In Kabbalah, this name points to the idea of God not as a separate entity, but as reality itself. In this understanding, God does not exist. God is existence. The Kabbalah often is referred to as the soul of Judaism. At its core is the belief that God is an eternal being, both masculine and feminine, described as Ein Sof, which means that which is without limit. Within this belief, we are incapable of understanding God, but as was shared in our call to worship, in a quote from Rabbi Herschel, we can approach a personal awareness of God and experience it as a divine experience or transcendence because it is both within and beyond us. It is a deep revelation where God essentially means, as she shared, we are never alone. And I'll come back to that. A word also regarding earth or nature-based traditions, and I understand that CUP is forming here. Great. That's nature with a capital N. These beliefs in general view the natural world as sacred and imbued with spiritual significance, often personifying natural forces and elements as some types of deities. These traditions often emphasize the interconnectedness of all living things with rituals and practices designed to honor and connect with the divine in nature. How mad does the earth get after people throw garbage on it? Well, she heats up and storms off. Many earth-based religions, such as paganism, Wicca, Druidry, animism, pantheism, and indigenous or First Nations tribal beliefs, share a core belief where humans are part of a larger web of life and have responsibility to live in harmony with nature. Sound familiar? What some scientists might say about the belief in God. Albert Einstein, considered one of the greatest minds of the 20th century, who was a theoretical physicist, replied when asked if he believed in God, quote, "I believe in Spinoza's God, who reveals himself in the orderly harmony of what exists, not in a God who concerns himself with fates and actions of human beings," end quote. Einstein believed the problem of God was the, quote, "most difficult question in the world," end quote. Mary, did you know that Albert Einstein was a real person? John replied, "No, I thought he was a theoretical physicist." A few words about Baruch de Spinoza, who was born 1632 and died in 1677. He was a Portuguese Jewish philosopher who also was a forerunner of the Age of Enlightenment and a leading philosopher of the Dutch Golden Age. Since Einstein believed his view of God, what did Spinoza say of God? These are some of his quotes. "Whatsoever is in God, and without God, nothing essence of God." Given the above, and with his extensive writings that we still have, Spinoza would be considered today a pantheist, where God is identified with nature and the universe, universe itself, rather than as a separate personal creator. Additionally, this particular view or conceptualization of God goes back many thousands of years prior to any organized religion. Another quote from a more contemporary scientist, and this is the whole quote. "The most astounding fact is that atoms comprise life on Earth, that atoms make up the human body, and traceable to the crucibles that cook light elements into heavy elements in their core under extreme temperatures and pressures. These stars eventually exploded, scattered their enriched guts made of carbon, nitrogen, oxygen across the galaxy, forming solar systems and stars with orbiting planets, which have the ingredients for life itself. When I look up at the night sky, and I know that, yes, we are part of this universe, and yes, we are in this universe, but perhaps more important than both of those facts is that the universe is in us. When I reflect on that fact, I feel big because my atoms came from those stars. There's a level of connectivity." Neil deGrasse Tyson grew up in Bronx, New York, BA in physics from Harvard, PhD astrophysics from Columbia. By the way, Neil is a declared agnostic. What of agnostics? Agnostics believe that the essence of God is either unknown or unknowable and question with certainty the existence of a God or gods. The term itself means without knowledge. It's founded upon knowledge and evidence, not beliefs or faiths. The Pew Research found in 2024 that 28% described themselves as either atheist, agnostics, or nothing in particular. Quote, "How many agnostics does it take to change a light bulb?" Don't know. John Horgan, in his article at Scientific American in August 2021, entitled "On the Big Questions, Be Agnostic," said, quote, "Doubt protects us from dogmatism, which can easily morph into fanaticism, and what William James called, quote, a premature closing of our accounts with reality," end quote. Horgan goes on to say, "I'm definitely a skeptic. I doubt we'll ever know whether God really exists, what quantum mechanics means, or how matter makes mind. These three puzzles, I suspect, are different aspects of a single impenetrable mystery at the heart of all things. But one of the pleasures of agnosticism, perhaps the greatest pleasure, is that I can keep looking for answers and hoping that a revelation awaits just on the horizon. At the far end of this spectrum, on the horizon, is a belief in God or gods that is not believed, or atheism. In its broadest sense, atheism is the absence of any belief in the existence of a god or gods. This lack of belief is a core defining characteristic of atheism, and it's the really only thing that all atheists might have in common. Why don't atheists solve exponential problems? They don't believe in higher powers. It's crucial to understand that atheism is not a religion or a belief system in itself. It doesn't inherently dictate a specific worldview or set of beliefs on topics beyond the non-existence of gods. In summary, and yes, I am nearing the end. However, we might conceptualize, see, believe, comprehend, or feel about a metaphysical being or beings, a divine presence, a universal energy, or a knowing life force, or however we might understand that which is all or nothing at the same time, being incomprehensible to our feeble minds, or believe there's nothing there at all but what we have in this life. We're all blessed and so fortunate to have a mind at all to speculate upon this wondrous existence of ours. Some common themes and threads that are found within most belief systems, including gods or a god, are 1, creation or development stories. 2, rituals, ceremonies, or rites. 3, a moral code or set of practice expectations. 4, this is really critical, a connection to or with the deity that extends beyond oneself. And finally, a form of faith or belief paradigm. Just perhaps, maybe, and give me some grace here, all of us are experiencing our existence within our world as a perception of how we are connected in a meaningful way. This is predominantly due to life's frame of reference, worldview, mental conceptualizations and perspectives, as well as our cultural, developmental, and personal experience. And just maybe also our gene structure. Through all of the above, we've touched upon one piece, a sliver, a meaningful part of the great and wonderful journey that we're all in. A glimpse of the vast and total cosmos, of the miracle of the dust of which we are made, stardust, of what is seemingly unimaginable into something that makes sense to each of us, is real for us, and so we can feel a connection to all that is, was, and perhaps is to be. And as a result, we can see the elephant in the universal room. And may you go in peace and love.
Our closing hymn today is Spirit of Life. That's number 123 in your gray hymnal, and the words, of course, will be projected behind me. Remembering that the universe is much larger than our ability to comprehend, let us go forth from this time together with the resolve to stop trying to reduce the incomprehensible to our own petty expectations, so that wonder, that of what is sacred, can find spot and space to open up our minds. Please remain seated for the postlude. I wish to thank everyone who, our speakers today, and our members who put this service together, and thank you. And now, please, let's have some fellowship at the back with, see what we bought.